the communication connection, and what it does, it communicates to the inverter, one side, communicates to the inverter, the energy, the data from the inverter, from the antenna on the inverter, comes and talks to this antenna here. It comes into the gateway, it's converted into a digital signal, and it goes out via the internet to my router, okay? So the gateway takes the data from the inverter to the router, to my broadband modem, and out to the SolarEdge cloud in the sky, okay? And sometimes the loss of communication is the inverter. Sometimes the loss of communication is the gateway, okay? But if you want to see, is it communicating, is it the gateway, what is my status, you can look right here, and this right here, SOK. As long as the SOK light is on, that means that the gateway is communicating to the inverter. It's talking to the server in the sky, okay? The link light here, the link light is the established communication between the gateway and the inverter, okay? So the link light should flash one time every 5 seconds, and that means it's communicating to the inverter. Now, I'm not seeing it flash. You haven't seen it flash, right? It's okay. It flashes an orange color. Doesn't mean it's not working. Doesn't mean we need to do anything. But it's just right now it is not making communication between the two. It is somewhat of a common thing that I've seen. This here, the three LED lights with the little bars, that is the communication signal strength. So that is the signal strength between the gateway and the inverter. So we've got 3 bars, we've got a fairly close distance. We should have the link light. If it's not on right now, give it a little while, it should reestablish. Because when we were out there, we saw SOK. So everything should be okay. Doesn't mean I need to start calling Andy and freaking out, but it is something that should be flashing one time every 5 seconds. There is a power cord on here and an Ethernet cord. Sometimes what I do is if people have problems and they're not communicating for 24 hours, I'll tell them to unplug it, plug it back in. If that still doesn't work, what I can do is I can call SolarEdge tech support. There is a serial number on the bottom of here. This serial number on here, if I give SolarEdge that serial number, they can remotely log in through the Ethernet cable to here and see, can it communicate to the gateway? Can it communicate to the inverter? What I've been finding is when it has a communication issue, the first thing that it does, that they try to do, is they usually like to update the firmware on the gateway. And then let that run for a couple days. If there's still a problem, then they try to update the firmware on the inverter, and they can update those firmwares remotely. Okay. Now, my gateway, so between you and me, not something you explain to customers, but my gateway, it sits right here at my desk. So sometimes I'll see the light off, and I'm like, oh crap, why is it off? And at my house, I have communication issues fairly regularly with it, and I've upgraded the firmware on here, upgraded the firmware on there. I've called them a number of times, and it just loses it, and then it seems to come back.
Like you said, all information is still in the brain.
All the information is still there. Once it updates, boom, it goes back. And what I see sometimes, it seems like this will power cycle itself in the evening. Because I've looked during the day and it'll have no data for today, all the data for yesterday, but no data for today, no data. And then around 7 o'clock, I'll see the lights on there turn off and start flashing, and then it'll start communicating and all the data shows up. So, so some of the early sites, we used a cellular card. Some of the earlier sites, we had a cellular card out there, so there was nothing inside the house, which we liked, but we had problems with those having communication issues as well. More issues than we've been having with these. The cellular ones, those have issues, and there's just nothing that I can do without switching them to this kind of a Zigbee, with a Zigbee setup. So what's good though is at least if they have some communication issues, I've been training them how to read the inverter's operating, how to read that it's working, how to read the gateway and to see what the gateway is. So I try and empower them to give them enough information to be able to do some of that troubleshooting on their own. to at least look to see the inverter's on, the inverter's running. And with the SolarEdge platform, unfortunately, this is why I'm not a salesperson, it cannot tell me on the website, and even calling them, I don't think they can tell me, is it the inverter is faulted or it's just a loss of communication. It's unfortunately, it's not enough detailed information to be able to tell me that. So